Welcome, listeners, to another Wholehearted podcast episode. And today I have with me my friend Leila Boutaleb-Brousse. I hope I get your name pronounced correctly.
Perfectly. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Leila, I met in APSS, the Professional Speakers Association here in Singapore. And when I first met her, I was really drawn to her vibe, right? I think she's very positive. She's got a lot of presence about her. And so I got to know that she's also a coach. We are writing our books together. I mean, we're not writing the same book,
Not
but
the same.
she's writing a book, I'm writing my book, and we're kind of like working alongside each other and supporting each other. And she's also recently just invited me to her house for an amazing Moroccan dinner. It's very, very memorable. So, Leila, welcome to the Wholehearted podcast.
Thank you, Coen. Thank you for having me.
So, Leila, we have a lot to discuss today, but let's just start with some warm-up questions that we typically ask our guests. Mm-hmm. So my first question to you is, what does being wholehearted mean to you?
Wow. Great question. For me, it's about being authentic. But when we say authentic, it doesn't mean like be as you are. It's about knowing your values, knowing who you are, but also have the capacity to adapt. So for me, this is what wholehearted means.
Okay, I want to ask the next question, but I want to just jump into this, where you say that you know your values, but also have the adaptability to adapt. Mm-hmm. When do you stick to your values and when do you adapt?
Always sticking to your values. For me, values, we cannot compromise with our values. If your values is integrity, you cannot, like for me, as a wholehearted leader, authentic leader, you cannot take decisions that compromise this value. So values are not something that we can compromise. For me, it's very important. Everything about how to influence, how to make yourself heard, seen. Here, we need to adapt to other people because 75 people around us, they don't have the same communication styles, they don't have the same needs, they don't have the same motivation. So this is what I mean by adaptation.
Fantastic. So now let me just follow up the first question, right? It's like, what are some of the obstacles to people living wholehearted lives? I think over the last 4 or 5 years, especially the pandemic, the COVID pandemic has kind of accelerated this, right? People are really asking themselves, who is my authentic self? Who am I, right? What is it that I want to do with my life, right? But we still hear people, struggling really to, live life that are really wholehearted and really living true to themselves. What do you think are some of these obstacles?
I think the biggest obstacle is fear. Fear first, and all their inner saboteurs that are preventing them from living this wholehearted life.
What do you mean by saboteurs, inner saboteurs?
I mean all the inner voices that telling you that you are not enough or you cannot make it or making you doubt in yourself. All these inner voices that usually are our main blockers, and they are also the main reason why we are not achieving our objectives and living the life that we want to design.
I like it. I never heard of it being used in a phrase saboteurs, inner saboteurs. We ever often heard of the inner voices, the inner talk, self-talk and everything. But really fascinating the choice of the word saboteurs. Maybe we can go further into that later. We'll dive deeper into that. But first of all, let's just talk about the obvious, right? It's like you're one of the first friends I know from Morocco. So you were born in Morocco, and then you spent a lot of your life in France before you moved to Asia. So let's just rewind all the way back from where you started, right? Tell us, how was it like to be born and to grow up in Morocco?
Great. So yes, born and grew up in Morocco. I like a very happy childhood. Like if I have to talk about my parents, they're very loving parents, but also very anxious, like the kind of parent that want you to take, the safe route and the safe paths. I know that they were a bit anxious, especially my dad, when I decided after high school, to move to France for my studies. He was a little bit afraid. So I think all the anxiety that I have and probably some of lack confidence that I had before was from that. Because he was afraid and also because for him, his kids are the most important thing.
Oh, of course.
He wants them to be around. He doesn't want them to go abroad. So so after high school, I moved to France for my studies. It's quite common when you live in Morocco to go abroad after high school. I was not supposed to live there because I was supposed to come back after like the master degree. But I have been pushed by my dad finally to stay, to have some experience in France before to move back. But like as things never follow the plan, so I met my husband and I end up living there for 20 years.
It's also love kept you in France.
Yeah.
You found love.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just talk about anxiety, because you say that anxiety is anxiety, because Morocco is one of my dream destinations to go to. To me, of course, from what I see on YouTube and on television and on the brochures, right, it's like a magical land, right? But maybe I do not understand as much about Morocco. Would you say that the anxiety, is it common of the country, or is it because maybe it's a developing country and therefore people are more anxious?
My grandmother was anxious and very protective, and this is the way that it's a way to show love. Sometimes it has impact on kids.
You also met your kids, right? So, I mean, what are you doing, I mean, as a mother for yourself, right, to break this like intergenerational kind of like transfer of anxiety, right? Obviously, I think we are of that generation, right, that we are more educated. Like we have more education, we have more books, podcasts about parenting, about, trauma, about, mental health and all that, right? So we also have that language described, like we say, for example, like, they were anxious, right? They were anxious. So even the description of them as anxious is a very, very apt description, right? It's not a bad thing, it's just that they have anxiety, right? I mean, this is very much part of being a human, right? It's part of the human condition. When things don't go the way we want to, we always want to either control it, or we feel a sense of anxiety over things we cannot control. Right? It takes a lot of wisdom to kind of like let that go and learn to live with that, and like you said, adapt to it, right? So I think we are lucky because we are the generation that grew up with things like coaching, things like mental health, education and resources everywhere. So obviously, we are more empowered. We can make more empowered choices to make that decision and say, hey, no, look, it's a family business, but it's going to stop with you. But you do not want to transfer the anxiety down to your children. Can you share with me a little bit more about your thought process around that? And do you feel maybe that sometimes you also transfer the anxiety down to your kids, or do you feel that you made a conscious decision not to do that?
Okay, first, I just want us to be very specific about the terms, because last weekend I was in Bangkok and I attended a talk with Mo Gaudat. I don't know if you know him. And I loved the part when he gave us a clear definition about like the difference between fear, worrying, and anxiety. And I love this definition and I want to stick to it. So maybe anxiety was not the right term because we use anxiety all the time. It's a kind of generic term. But here I would use more like for my the way I was raised, my family, and what we are discussing is more about worrying. Worrying. Because when we talk about fear, like fear, it's a defensive mechanism for us.
Yeah.
And when we fear, like we take action or we try to protect ourselves. Yeah. It's clear. Yeah. Worrying, you don't choose any side.
Yeah.
It's useless. Like worrying is we need to choose a side. It's freak out or chill out. And the third, and anxiety, according to what he shared during this talk, is about our capabilities, not feeling enough.
Okay, got it.
So that's why maybe like when I was talking about my parents, it was more about like worrying, always worrying, always worrying. Yeah.
Worrying seems to be a kind of a big waste of imagination.
Waste of imagination, waste of energy, waste of time.
But I think also worry comes from, like you said, right? It comes from experience, right? So when people have experience of, having not enough, maybe they don't have enough food, they don't have enough, resources, money, or they don't have enough safety. Maybe ancestors grew up in a very dangerous place, right? I mean, some people who grow up in war-torn countries, right? Obviously, have had that lived experience of, things going very bad very quickly. So obviously, their brain suddenly become more wired for worry, right?
Yeah, exactly, because my grandparents lived during the Second Wars. For me, it's more about like, I love my kids and I want to protect them and to make sure that I protect them. Yeah. And they are in a kind of bubble, which is going back to what you said, which is not the strategy that I choose for my kids. Of course, it's something that I worked on to, like for me to avoid being this helicopter parents that is very, very common. Because for me, it's not helping them. If we are protecting them and if we want everything to be easy for them, it's not the best way to prepare them for what is coming. So that's why, of course, I love my kids. They are the most important thing in my life. But I really want them to face setbacks. I want them to struggle a bit. And I don't want things to be super easy for them because obviously this generation, especially when we are in Singapore, like it's a Disneyland. Like it's Disneyland. it's a Disneyland. So.
Singapore is a Disneyland.
Yeah,
so
like
first I heard that.
Safety, everything is easy, everything is like the golden childhood for the kids. It's not the real life, to be honest. It's not the real life.
Singapore is Disneyland. The first I heard that before.
For kids when they are in international school and everything. So what is important for me is to teach them the values, to empower them so that they are able to face and overcome any obstacles. They will have obstacles, and we are not going to be here all the time. So this is how I see things. Of course, if they face crisis or a setback, they will find us. We'll be always here, but it's just we are not here to do things for them or to make everything easy for them. They need to learn these values of work, of resilience, of also how to adapt.
Thank you. You talk about adapt a lot. It seems to be a very key word for you, right? So you then moved to France and then you stayed for 20 years in France. I also do know, obviously, that going from Morocco to France, right, is a well-trodden path for many, many Americans, right? But was it easy for you when you first went from Morocco to France? Was it difficult to settle down, to get used to life there? Or was it kind of like, woohoo, freedom? But the original transition, how was it like?
So it was something, I was intentional about it because obviously my dad at that time, he wants us to be, and he used to live in France and he knows that it's not easy to live abroad, and he wants me to stay to be around him and like there is a lot of good schools and the universities also in Morocco. But for me now, it was like my intention, I wanted to go for freedom, to explore new things. So this is something I was super intentional about it. So of course there was the excitement when I convinced him and when I decided to go. But the reality it was different from what I was expecting. My first year abroad was the worst year of my life, to be honest. It was not easy to have friends, and there was a kind of cultural shock, to be honest. Like I used to have always my friends come in, like the door always open, always friends at home. Here, like you have friends during the week, and during weekend, everyone goes with their families. Nobody invites you. So it was quite hard at the beginning to adapt and to find my real tribe. Because I've also met with some group of friends, they were not the good fit. Because when we feel alone, when we are abroad, we are not super selective. And but it was also a great lesson. After that, I managed to have like some good friends and to adapt again.
You're very adaptable. Right? So after you graduated, you found a job in France, right? So I do understand that you were in marketing.
Yeah.
You were involved in tech marketing for many years in your career, right? Yeah. So talk me through your career. What are some of the things you love most about your career as in tech? Because one of the common challenges with tech, right, is like very often you are the minority. Because in tech mostly are men, right? Yeah. So for you as a lady, how is it like in that environment?
I think I was very lucky. So before to have my job in tech, I worked in other industries, consumer industries, which is like a dream for graduates to go to do marketing. And to be honest, I didn't like the atmosphere. I didn't like environment. I didn't like people. So it was good. I learned a lot of things, but I was not seeing myself evolving in this industry. So and after that, like I did a master on at that time we call it it's a long time ago, new technologies master, and then I had this internship in this startup, and I love it because I felt this is where everything happened and this is the future, and I loved how you have like a bunch of people with a shared vision. They want to change the world, and at that time was the golden age of tech. So I knew that this is the industry where I'm going to thrive, to be honest. And I loved working there, and I was very lucky because my internship term has been converted into a long-term contract. And this is where I learned everything. And the CEO of that startup, I'm still, of course, in contact with him, is one of my mentors. So it was one of the best experience of my life. And what I love the most, like for me, it's not about a specific industry or a specific size of company. Like I'm driven by transformation, by impact. So every project or every company or every mission where I feel that I am contributing to transform something, to show the before and the after, it's something that fits my energy. And so this is where I am at of my maximum capacity, and this is where I am at my full potential, is when I work in some project where, like, especially like when you have shared vision, when you have like inspiring leaders, and you have like this mission to grow a business or to transform something. So this is what I love the most, and this is what drives me.
Thanks for sharing, Leila. I want to just rewind back to this where you say something like being in consumer was the dream of many people. I can imagine the big consumer brands in France, right? Like the L'Oreal. So I mean, it's a dream for many people. And I just want to say again, I don't think Leila is actually kind of like attacking a particular industry. It's just different industries work for different people. Some people enjoy being in a certain industry, right? Just like kind of like the fish enjoys being in the water, and like the monkey enjoys being in the tree. But the monkey may not enjoy being in the water, and the fish don't enjoy being in the tree. Not at all, right? So it's really about really finding your right fit, right? So I think it's really about finding a fit, because a lot of people I know that sometimes they kind of have they were sold this dream that I need to go and do this, exactly. And then so much so that they almost feel this fear, like to your what, right? The reason why they cannot live wholeheartedly is because they fear. They kind of feel like this is the dream job, right? And if I were to leave this industry, I'm saying goodbye to my dreams. But in the process of doing that, right, what happens is that they actually abandon themselves. Even though the environment is not the right fit for them, they are square peg in a round hole, the culture of the environment is not the best, but they just force themselves to stay in it. They almost kind of like gaslight themselves into saying that if I were to leave, it means I'm a quitter. J'ai quitté, I quit. And means to say, then they'll start to say, oh, what will people think? People will think that I'm a quitter. I don't have resilience. I don't have grit. I don't have determination. So they give themselves a lot of pressure to stay and endure. And I am a big believer that sometimes enduring is overrated.
Totally aligned, because many people, they confused resilience with sacrifice.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, because like they are not, and once again, see it like a flower. Like a flower, you put it in an environment, she will bloom, it will bloom, she will be beautiful. You change the environment and it dies. So people is the same. Is what is the environment that fits you, your energy, your values, your expectation. For me, I really believe on that. So that's why you can have like super performer in this company, he moved company and he's no more performer.
So when you say
this is so common.
When you say that they confuse sacrifice with resilience, can you talk a little bit more about that?
So this is another topic. What happens is that you have people, for example, they start in a company as a junior, and then they get promotion and they stay in this company, for example, for a long time. And then things become complicated, because you know how it works in. Like at the beginning, you get stuff done, you are an achiever, you deliver, you have the reward and you have the recognition, and sometimes you have the promotion. But the more you climb the ladder, it's not the same way that you are going to be promoted. You need to develop other skills than your technical skills. You need to learn how to navigate. And sometimes the environment for them, it becomes super complicated. Like, for example, you have a lot of cases when your managers or your stakeholders, they don't deliver on the promise of the promotion. Sometimes you have more work and you need headcount, but they say, no, just figure it out. But when this situation lasts too long, it's not resilience, it's sacrifice, because you lose your passion, you lose your motivation, you lose your energy. And sometimes it's too late to leave this company. because you have lost your confidence and you stay too long in this company. And then you have a lot of fears and you don't know. And so this is where sometimes people confuse resilience with sacrifice. So you need to know when you are resilient and when you start to sacrifice yourself.
Ooh, this is such a deep topic, right? So you just illuminated something that I never really thought about, right? It's like they are promoted because they have this same level of skill, right? But they get promoted into the next role, right, which has more complexity. They need to kind of like upgrade their sort of software and operating system. It's even like software also has like new updates and new patches, right?
Yeah.
But they actually haven't really updated it. So they're kind of like trying to solve newer problems with their previous mindset. And then when they cannot make any progress, they kind of find themselves knocking against the door, knocking their head against a locked door. And then they get frustrated and they lose their confidence.
Yeah. And it's very common. Like an example, when you are high achievers and you always deliver and you deliver, because you deliver, you get promoted, then you will end up maybe promoted to be a leader, to lead a team. But of course, you cannot lead with the high achiever mindset because we are not expecting from you now to deliver. We are expecting from you to lead people, to manage complexity, to manage stakeholders, to navigate in the corporate, and they are not ready. And the reason why they are not ready is because they are not trained, or because they are not self-aware. And then this is what, like when you don't have this self-awareness and we don't decide to surround yourself with this supporting system, mentors, coaches, or even like sponsors, or you get isolated, and then this is the beginning of burnout.
Okay. Well, so much to unpack over here, right? You did mention about, this is the definition of Peter principle, right? To be promoted to incompetence. That means you are promoted to a level that you don't have the skills for. Yeah. So when you say that they do not have the support, they do not have the self-awareness, so there are a few pieces to unpack here. Let's talk about the self-awareness piece.
Yeah.
Were you always self-aware?
No.
So how did you learn that?
When you start to explore yourself, when you start to this journey about knowing about you, about who you are, about what is important for you, about your values, about your fears.
And when do they start? When do that journey start? Does it start when you decide, I want to start today? Or does it start when you, for example, like you say, when you left home, when you decided to go live in Morocco, to go to France, to study your university, right? So it's like when you are suddenly thrust into a new environment, all the things that you are used to is suddenly not there anymore. It's like on the weekends, people don't open their doors to you. Everyone is gone. You feel lonely. You feel isolated. And then you start to go, oh no, now I need to kind of survive. I need to kind of like... And then there's a kind of moment where this like moment of truth, right? You're suddenly thrown into this environment where you're face to face with the truth that you go, I need to have some self-awareness here. Otherwise, how am I going to navigate this? How am I going to adapt to this? Right? But if, like you say, if people are never ever faced with that, right, how do they actually develop their self-awareness? How do they they don't just wake up tomorrow and say, okay, today I'm going to have some self-awareness. Right? No. So how do you actually develop that? What was the turning point? What's the moment where it changed?
The moment. Yeah. I think it was when it was back to that time when I have always been super passionate about my job. I was always driven, always having objectives and checking them. And it was this time of my life, a few years ago, when I start to lose this motivation, this drive, this energy. Like I wake up with no energy, with lack of motivation. You add to this, the guilt and the shame. Why are you feeling like that? You have a great job, you have a great salary, you have everything. Why do you feel like that? And this is where, and I did not understand. I kept waking up every morning with this lack of energy, lack of drive, like lack of motivation. And this is where I decided to explore and to understand what's going on.
So what was going on?
I think it was a kind of, I don't know if we call it identity crisis or loss of meaning and purpose. I remember I have hired a coach at that time. And I say, okay, I don't understand what's happening to me. I don't understand why every morning I'm waking up that way. I used to be super passionate, super driven, super motivated. Now I feel always tired. What's going on? And I say, I don't understand because I work out every day. And when you are like this, you say, okay, I'm going to work out every day to have more energy. You push yourself more. But she told me, you are like a bath tube, you pour water, but there is a big hole.
Like
So it's not gonna work
big hole.
with a big hole. Exactly. So we need first to, to fix the hole, and then we can pour the water. And the hole for me was the lack of meaning. To be honest, I was looking to my boss and I was not inspired. I was looking to the boss of my boss. I was not inspired. Before I was passionate about the mission, about everything, but now it's getting bigger and bigger, and you just execute, you just deliver, or you just navigate, and you work for a paycheck at the end, which is good. Like, I was grateful for that, but it was not something that was fitting my energy anymore, and it was draining me instead of energizing me. So I was drained by that. So yeah, and I think this is where I started this journey, when I explore about myself, who I am. Like, who I am. This is a question that even now I ask many people, they don't know who they are. They used to define themselves by their job title, and this is what I used to do. Yeah, I'm head of marketing, or I am head of sales, or, yeah. But are you really only that? Who you are? So this question, I think it was like a game changer question for me.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is where I started this journey about, okay, who I am, what is important for me, what are my values, what do I enjoy the most, what are the things I am good at, like Ikigai if you want, what is the lifestyle I want to have, how I want to be perceived, how I want to show up. All these questions help you to gain awareness.
Wow. Well, it's just fascinating, because I was just having a chat with another podcast guest, We Take, and he was just saying that a lot of these mindsets, right, is really outdated. It's an industrial age mindset. Because the industrial age is like an industrial gold rush, right? It's kind of like capitalists with money buying factories, building factories hiring workers with automated systems that just churn out cars, handbags, products, and everything like that. And there was a period of time where people are getting richer and richer, and then the middle class is rising and rising and rising, and they have more money. And with more money, they can buy their LV, Louis Vuitton, they can buy their expensive bags, nice cars, bigger houses. But it's really very outdated, because it's a construct, it's a way of living, right, that really is predicated on consuming more, buying more, having more.
The economy of more. Yeah.
The economy of more. So you work harder in order to buy more.
Yeah.
And you are sort of like part of the system. You're caught in the system because you're a pawn of the system.
Yeah.
Because the system gives you a lot of adrenaline rush. It rewards you. It rewards you with promotion. It rewards you with a good performance review. It rewards you with, a nice bonus. Stock options as well, right? Because you're in a startup. So it was very rewarding. And then you are like, and you almost feel this gaslighting, this guilt. It was like, I'm paid well. I am, having a good job. I'm having a good house. I can raise my family. And you love your kids to bits. But you're not having the meaning. Because when you look at your boss,
You lost your meaning, yeah.
you're not inspired. When you look at your boss's boss, you're not inspired. You can't go like, why am I doing this? So it's almost like an existential awakening. And I'm sure what you just shared, right, is very, very zeitgeist of the moment, because like I said earlier on, right, this last 5 years during the pandemic, there's a lot of people who are really awakening to this, right? And like I said, also many people awaken to this, but they still haven't got the answer, right?
And I think what is important is to do the work, even if you don't take big decision at that time, because it was many years ago. And for me, it was not something that is realistic to leave the corporate world at that time. But the work that I did and this clarity that I got, it helped me to say, okay, this is just temporary. I have other plans. And this is super important for people to be resilient. Because, okay, I'm here. I know why I am here, but this is not where I see myself in 5 years or in 10 years.
When you say do the work, I assume it's inner work.
Yeah.
Can you describe what does that inner work entail? What is it? I mean, besides hiring a coach, what else did you do as part of the inner work?
It's a decision, but you can do this work. It's about exploring who you are, what you want, what are your values, what kind of life what is the lifestyle you want to have, how you want to be perceived. And this is help you to get to be aware. But awareness is not enough. Then you need intention. So now that you know what are your core values, what is important for you, what kind of life you want to run, what is the life that you don't want, what do I need to get this life or this objective that I have for me? I'm also trying to do it in a daily basis, to have like a journal, a reflection. And so this is something that it's ongoing. What is important is the intention and the action. Because being self-aware is good, but it's not enough. It's what do I do with all this information that I learn about myself?
Okay. You mentioned in our previous discussion, right, that you were burnout, and burnout means different thing to different people, right? Some people think that burnout is just kind of like having no energy to work, or maybe they're working too hard. But for some people, burnout is kind of like a lack of meaning. So my question to you is, how do you know you were burnt out? And how do you know it in your body that you were burnt out?
Burnout for me, it's clearly a lack of meaning and and the disconnection from your meaning. It was a kind of burnout because when I say I wake up every morning lacking energy, lacking purpose, lacking motivation, and not understanding what's going on, it was a kind of burnout.
So how do you get out of that burnout? What can you offer to our listeners at home, right, as some tips on how to kind of like get yourself out of burnout?
I think the first thing is do not isolate yourself, because one of the most common behavior is when we feel like that, we say, oh, maybe what's wrong with me? Maybe it's me. The first thing is really not isolate yourself and don't practice what I call the toxic positivity. Like, I'm not feeling good, but I cannot complain.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
I cannot complain.
That's a big one.
And the first thing is really don't isolate, because if you are surrounded with people who are like good people, they care for you, they will say, okay, you are not doing well, like you lose your glow, or you're not... So, what's going on? How do you feel? First thing is really not to isolate yourself and don't practice toxic positivity.
And also really asking how do you feel is a very, very important question as well, because for many people, especially, I talk to a lot of men and women, and this is actually more prevalent for women. A lot of women tend kind of like raised to not think of themselves, think of other people, think of the husband, think of the family, think of, So it's like they become quietly sacrificial or quietly just... like blaming themselves for, I need to be stronger. It's like, I cannot ask myself this question, what do I want? Because if I ask myself, what do I want? What do I feel?
I'm selfish.
I'm being selfish. I'm not being in service of my children. I mean, I understand that you were going through this burnout, everything like that, while being a mom of 2 kids. Well, also you are highly functional kind of a burnout, right? You're performing at work. It's not that you're not performing at work, but you are just having this void of meaning. And then how do you continue to show up and pull everything together while still being a mom to your kids? Obviously, you cannot like take it out on your kids and everything, right? Because that's going to cause them to be hurt. Right? So how do you pull yourself together? How do you hold yourself together for this?
I think the same here. Like, I decided to go for help. Like, to be honest, at the beginning, I took some pills. Pills are magical to sleep and to stop, the overthinking. Okay. But, the moment the doctor gave me these pills, I said, no, it's not for me. I want to get the control back of my life. I don't want my well-being to depend on pills.
So there's this reclamation of agency there.
Yeah, so that's why I say, okay, there are therapists, there are coaches, so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna ask for help. I'm also super lucky because I have a very supportive husband. At that time, my mom, she was very supportive too. She said, okay, like, what will be the worst case? Like, the worst case is not that worse. So let's be more grounded and get help, and it's okay, it's temporary. So I think I was lucky to have like this supporting system and people pushing me to go to see doctors and to seek for help.
Nice.
So and then like I took these pills like for less than 1 week, to be honest.
So you strike me as, I think we discussed this also previously before we come on, right? You strike me as a very ambitious person. And I think ambitious people also sometimes use their capabilities and their ability to achieve and to function well, right, as a kind of a defense mechanism. It's also like part of the saboteur, right? It's like kind of like, I'm scared, I'm actually terrified of being not good enough. And therefore, I overcompensate by working harder and achieving more than other people. And so sometimes that also can lead many people down that system, like I said, in a corporate world, in a system that rewards performance. So they just keep rewarding you for your performance, so you just keep performing better and better and better. But actually, the real thing that many people are afraid of confronting is that if I just wake up tomorrow and I don't perform, I'm no longer the top performing person. I'm no longer achieving what I used to achieve. Then I'm useless. Then I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not good enough. So talk me through that, because I'm sure you talk about saboteurs, you done a lot of research on that. I'm sure as a coach yourself, you also help a lot of people who are overachievers, achievement-centric people to kind of decouple and also detach themselves from their performance. Like, you are not your performance.
Yeah.
So talk me through that process. Like, how did you overcome your own overperformance anxiety, and how do you actually come to terms with the fact that you don't have to always be performing?
Yes, so this is super common within like driven and high achiever people. Is this tendency to define themselves by what they do.
Define themselves by what they do.
Yeah, I do, so I am. If I don't produce, I am nothing. If I don't achieve, I am nothing. I was in this vicious circle before. What we need to understand is there is nothing wrong about being ambitious and about achieving.
Yeah, nothing wrong.
That's why this is a saboteur, but it's also something that helps us to be where we are right now.
Yeah.
The challenge is when you are only driven by that, and when you relate your worth to that. I do, so I am. When you define yourself only with that, and when you value yourself only when you achieve, at a moment of your life or your career, you will become stuck. Because the lies of the hyperachiever saboteurs that we have. The first lie is I do, so I am. When I don't do, I don't have any worth for myself, I don't love myself, means you have a kind of conditional love for yourself.
Yes.
And true love, it's unconditional love. Self-love must be unconditional. Exactly the way we love our parents or the way we love our kids. It's unconditional. And we need to have the same for ourselves. The second lie of the hyper-achiever saboteurs is I will be happy when I will achieve the next big thing. The reality is that there is no end to this next big thing. There's always something else. You don't enjoy the process. You don't learn from failure, because as you identify yourself, your outcome, when you don't have outcome, you are nothing.
Yeah.
But failure is part of success. Like, failure is something which is learning opportunity. And then, like, when you are only driven by the achievement, we can also nurture some resentment. Because we say, toward people around us, like manager or colleagues or even family. So I didn't have enough support to achieve what I need to achieve. So it has like a 3 negative impact on your well-being, your self-esteem, your self-worth, your self-love, your performance, because you're going to be stuck if you don't embrace failure and you don't learn from failure and you don't bounce back after failure. It's your own performance. That's why many of them, they are stuck in corporate and in life.
So you could almost say that you are of a very entrepreneurial mindset. You like to help companies start something.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, exactly.
And so you came to Singapore, but you came to Singapore at the tail end of 2019. And
a
few months later, COVID.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, bad timing, right? So how did you navigate that then?
It was hard. It was super hard. It was super hard, especially when you are the one who brought all the families and you don't know how things are going to move. There were at the beginning was this excitement about discovering a new country, a new job, new role, and then super excited. I had some challenges at work because I had a lot of sponsors, but I had also some people who were not very, I would say, very happy that I came, because they want this position to be held by someone else. But anyway, at that time it was okay. Like, I'm here. Like, of course, even if I was super performing in Europe, here I need to prove, and I need to earn their trust, which was totally okay with that. But then you have the plan, you align teams, you work, and then there is COVID. There is no plan anymore. Like, So it was a bit hard. It was a bit hard, but the same here. Like, it's in these difficulties when you build your resilience and when you grow. So here, like, same here, like some inner work. What is missing? What do I need? What kind of support I need?
Those are important questions to ask yourself always. Huh?
Yeah, super important questions. And I had a role which was I reported to global, but I had local stakeholders, and I had also my boss, and nobody was aligned on what is the objective. So it was super hard, but like working on, like, first being aware about, okay, what's going on and what are the qualities or the skills that I need to figure out this situation. Yeah, it's the right question that help you think out and move. A lot of patience. Of course, you need to earn the trust, once again. A lot of active listening, a lot of time and patience, and you are not here the one who say how things are going to be. You are here to listen and to understand and then to work with the team. And I think this is what helped me. This is what helped me. Even for people who were not very happy that I joined, at the end, like, they become my best friend.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So there's this element of empathy as well as adaptability that you talked about, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of the work sometimes is also done in a very indirect way, because we say doing the work, right? Sometimes the work is not always done very how do I say, intentionally. It's like sometimes, yes, you sit down, you say, I want to do the work, I want to find out who am I want to figure out who am I, what drives me, what are my values. Those are very intentional. But sometimes you're almost forced into doing the work by the experiences you have.
By the experiences, by the circumstances, by the event around you. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you a question about your current role, your current job right now. You're a coach, you help and also the corporate people, right, to navigate. So tell me more about what you do. Like, what exactly do you do and how do you actually help your clients?
Okay, so when I decided to leave my corporate job and start my practice, I have a very deep and strong belief. I do believe that our well-being is what fuels our energy. Energy is what drives motivation, but motivation alone is not enough to achieve our goals. We need to combine motivation with inspired and consistent actions. And then success happens, whatever your definition of success, whatever your definition of success and achievement. When I started Highly Growth, it was with this core belief. And today, our mission with Highly Growth is to help professionals to lead themselves first, because for me, the best leadership tools is self-leadership, to lead themselves and others with clarity, confidence, and also to build high-performing team without burnout. Because for me, like, performance and well-being goes hand in hand. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, right? It's like really about, like coming back to the word that you used at the start of our podcast, authenticity.
Yeah.
The authenticity, many people think is about, I want to be like this means I'm like this. That's not authenticity. Authenticity is this idea of really connecting with your North Star, connecting with your values, connecting with your gifts, and to be able to express them. I think the idea of authenticity through this word called eudaimonia. Eudaimonia, right, is actually the idea of really living to your ikigai.
Yeah.
It's like living to your natural flow state, your natural personality, your natural temperament, your natural inclinations, and really crafting your environment, crafting your career, your job, your business around your natural gifts and your natural temperaments.
Yeah.
Rather than, trying to force feed like into yourself into another one. Coming back to it's kind of a very, very nice wrap up to everything we have been sharing so far, right? It's like your foray into a career that it no longer fits for you because you are just finding yourself running on the treadmill, running in the rat race, right? You're almost like a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. And having to realize that, no, that's not for you. And so many people who are listening at home to these conversations, it's also questions for you to think about, right? The questions that you ask, right? It's like, who are you? What do you want? What are your values?
Yeah.
Those are very, very important. And I think really that's key to having an authentic life. And I think you're helping people to do just that because of your own past experiences.
I hope so.
Yeah. And also because you're an incredibly resilient person. After all your experiences going through, going from Morocco to France and then from France to Singapore and then having to always adapt, I think you're incredibly resilient for that. Okay, we're almost going to land a plane, so I'm just going to ask you some questions that we typically ask our guests to kind of wrap up, right? But before I go there, you have a question for me.
Yes, I have many actually, but yeah. The question I want to ask you is, what are you proud of?
Wow. Great question. I love that question. What am I proud of? Actually, that's a difficult question for me to answer because the word proud is not an emotion I feel a lot about. So you ask a very good question. That's the way of talking to a coach, right? You ask very good questions. I think what I'm proud of, right, is this. I went from this ultra-sensitive kid who grew up in a difficult home environment and then having been bullied in school and going through a lot of emotional and psychological challenges, culminating in my suicide ideation when I was 24 years old. That was like 20 years ago now. But I rebuilt my life from that rock bottom. I rebuilt my life. No, I'm so glad I didn't die. I didn't kill myself. I didn't succeed. And I built myself from rock bottom. When the only way to go was up and to reach out to people. Like you said, reach out, don't isolate yourself. Reach out to people. There are there are kind people around, there are mentors, there are people who believe in you, people who want to support you. Learn from them, and then turn all my life challenges, right, like those sensitivity that I have, the sensitivity that I have that I picked up when I was young, helping me to survive in a household of conflict, is the same superpower I have right now when I'm coaching people. It's the same superpower I have when I'm, as a podcast host, I'm able to kind of like sense into my guests and then be able to ask the right question. It's the same sensitivity I bring into a keynote. Often, when I do a keynote, I prepare my speeches, I prepare my slide. I know exactly what I'm going to say, the stories I'm going to tell, the jokes I'm going to share. But I walk into a room, within the first 5 minutes, I can sense the room. Actually, within 3 minutes, I can sense the room. I'll tweak my jokes. I'll tweak the way I speak. I'll tweak my tonality. I'll tweak the entire vibe of how I show up, because I sense what the room needs and give what the room needs. And I think that's a superpower that I have. I never quite answered the question, what am I proud of? But I'm very proud of how I've turned my darkest period of my life into my superpower.
Superpower. I love it.
And why am I so proud of that is also because that makes me bulletproof.
Yeah.
Why am I bulletproof is because, like, look, if I can survive that, like nothing's going to get me down, man. Like I'm going to be very, very upset. I'm going to be triggered. I'm going to be sometimes very emotional, sad, or whatever. But I'm not going to be defeated. So that's what I'm very proud of.
Yeah, super resilience. Yeah.
Right, so I'm just going to wrap up with some key questions. These are quick fire questions. So you just need to give like a 1 or 2 sentence answer. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, you're not ready. I'm just going to go anywhere. I don't care. Right?
Let's go. We'll see. I don't know.
Allez, yeah. In French, we say allez. Yeah. What's the most powerful question you have ever been asked before?
Who are you?
Yep, we talked about that.
Yeah,
we talked about that.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Who's a mentor or supporter who has made the biggest difference in your life?
Oh, many of them. I don't know if you follow my LinkedIn right now. I have a series of all the women who really inspired me and support me.
So, what's one of the most courageous things you have done in your life that's made all the difference?
I think, this decision to move here in Singapore, I think, because I had this struggle that helped me to develop some awareness and some new skills. And then the second decision is when I decided to resign from my job, because it was really intentional. It was not something like, okay, it's a layoff and then, okay, what do I do now? It was intentional to quit my job. And that was like the most crazy decision, I think.
Thank you, Leila, for your time. So once again, another great episode of the Wholehearted Podcast in the books. So Leila, where can our followers and listeners find out more about you?
I think on social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, or you can also go to my website, ileegrowth.com.
Thank you very much, Leila. Merci
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing something
Coen.
so close to your heart. Another great episode in the books. I really enjoyed my conversation with Leila. We dive deep into her challenges growing up in a family where there's worry and everything. It's something I can personally relate to very much. My parents are both warriors. They are warriors, but they were also warriors. And sometimes that also is something I carry with me in my life, because sometimes when I want to do something, I always worry, what's going to happen? What if it doesn't work? Am I good enough? And so I have all kinds of worries, and sometimes I worry so much and I think so much until I take myself out of the game before I even started. So the fact that Leila has really brought herself through so many different adventures, through working in the corporate world in jobs that she didn't quite enjoy, in industry that she didn't quite enjoy, and having that self-awareness to move out, and finding new jobs, and having the self-awareness to realize that she functions best in startup kind of environments where she's given a carte blanche, a kind of like empty canvas to paint with. That self-awareness that she has is really very, very inspiring. And I think that a lot of us professionals, right, in order to live a wholehearted life, can really learn a lot from that, having that ability to press the pause button and ask ourselves, are we aligned? I think one word that she used a lot is the word aligned. And sometimes we hear this word so often, we just think of it as background noise. But I think alignment is way more powerful than achievement. Alignment is way more powerful than accomplishment. I think one of the worst things that we can do is to climb a mountain only to realize that we have climbed the wrong mountain. And so what I think is a call to action for all of us to really find the alignment in our lives, because I think alignment is what it's going to take for us to continue to stay authentic, continue to stay happy and productive. And as she said, right, not just to achieve things, but also to achieve things with intention and clarity and alignment. So I hope that her episode has inspired you to find your internal alignment. To the next episode, stay wholehearted.